Good morning, everyone. This is 7th grade science. I'm Miss Harrington, and we are going to finish up on the integumentary system today and then get started in some digestive system. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We left off on the layers of the skin, and we have 3 layers of the skin. We have the epidermis, which is your outer layer of skin, and it protects us from the sun, and it protects us from bacteria and different things in the environment that basically keeps those things from getting in. Then in our middle layer, we have the dermis, which is where our blood vessels, our nerves, our hair follicles, and all those different things are. And then our inside layer is the fatty layer, which is going to help keep our body at a stable temperature. It can also store fat just in case the body needs it somewhere else. Okay, so moving on. When we have injuries in the skin typically will heal itself if we take proper care of it. Some different injuries that we're going to talk about are bruises, we have cuts, and we have burns. I'm not going to go into too much depth since we do need to get to a different system today, but as you can see, there are stages of a bruise. You can see stage 1 is when it's fresh, all the way to stage 4 to when it's almost healed. Cuts is when you actually cut through some layer of skin, and your skin is really cool because it can actually start making new skin cells. It's going to scab over first with dry blood, but then your skin cells will come in and start replacing and making sure that you heal up nicely. Okay, and then for burns, we have 3 different burns, and it pretty much goes with the layers of your skin. First degree burn is when your first layer only of your skin is burned, and you can tell this because it's just going to be red and kind of swollen. Now it's going to hurt, but it's not going to be that bad of an injury. It's about 5 to 7 days of a little bit of pain and scarring. Okay, our second degree burn is going to be when our dermis and our epidermis are burned, so 2 layers of skin. And you'll know this if there's redness, swelling, and blistering. So if you get some blisters, then you know it's a second degree burn. And then also our third degree burn is when all 3 layers of the skin are burned. And you'll know that because your skin will actually be a little black or white charred. And also, you might have some nerve damage, so if you actually lose a little bit of feeling, that's not good because nerve damage has happened at that point. All right, one way to keep skin healthy is to get in the sunlight a little bit. We want to produce vitamin D so that way calcium and other things can go through our body like we need it to. Also, our skin helps with keeping our body temperature stable. Sweating is one way to cool the body off. Getting chill bumps, remember from our muscles, also helps heat our body up. All right, now we're not going to go through the Slido for that one. However, let's get through. We're now going to go to your digestive system. Now for this particular system, we are going to use Slido.com just for some question and answering throughout the presentation. So if you want to go to, on your device or cell phone, www.slido.com, it's going to ask you for a code. It's the same code that we've been using, 5106. Now keep in mind, if you do go to this, right now it's going to tell you that there's no polls available. That's okay. Just leave it there because as soon as a question comes up on this board, it will come up on your screen. Now this code is going to be on the slides as I go the whole time. When the question comes up, it'll remind you of what website to actually go to. Okay, so let's get started. Our digestive system. So just like we've been doing with every unit, let's talk about some statements. Let's see if we actually agree or disagree before we've actually gotten into the content. So our first statement says, digestion begins in the mouth. Think about whether you agree or disagree with that. Does digestion really start when you start chewing? Okay, energy from food stays in the digestive system. So the energy from your food, does it stay in your digestive system? Think about whether you agree or disagree, and we're going to come back to these at the end. Okay, we have functions of the digestive system. So our functions is basically to break down food so our bodies can use the molecules and the energy from our food to fuel our body, and that's super important to actually function. Okay, there's 4 steps to digestion, and the first one is ingestion, the second is digestion, then we have absorption, and then elimination. And so we're going to go through those steps now. As far as the functions of these go, Digestion ingestion starts when you put food in your mouth and you start chewing. Ingestion is simply taking in food or drink. Okay, then we have digestion. Digestion starts and we have two different types. We have mechanical and we have chemical. And the first one we'll start with is mechanical, which we'll start talking about in just a second. And then also we have absorption, so the nutrients from the food and the liquids that you take in are absorbed in the body and transported through the areas that they need to go. But then we also have waste products, which is the parts that we're not going to use from the food or drink, and then those are eliminated through elimination. Okay, this is your first question for Slido.com. So again, if you go to this website, Slido.com, and use the code 5106, you should see this actual question on your screen. It says, what does the digestive system do? And it looks like we have a few answers so far. It says it breaks down food into molecules your body can absorb. That's a good answer. Good. Now, given body structure and support, that's not the digestive system. However, the skeletal system is definitely one that we've talked about. And then protecting the body would be skeletal and muscular too. So, good job for my 7 that have answered. All right, we have types of digestion. Mechanical digestion, that's the first part of digestion. And this starts as soon as food goes into your mouth. So you're chewing your food, hopefully, and that's going to break down the food into easier molecules for your body to absorb. Okay, after that, your chemical digestion starts. So technically, chemical digestion does start in the mouth after you've mechanically or chewed your food. And what helps with that are enzymes. And enzymes are proteins that help break down molecules, but they not only help do that, they help speed up the reaction to make sure that it gets done in a good, timely manner, or that it actually gets done. So without enzymes, sometimes chemical reactions are too slow or wouldn't happen. So there's a lot of different enzymes in our body. We have a lot of different ones that break down different molecules. We have special enzymes to break down carbohydrates, proteins, fats, all the different molecules that we have special enzymes for that. Okay, so the role of enzymes is to break down the food molecules into the nutrients that we need. Now, enzymes are really cool. They're like a lock and key type thing. You have a special enzyme for a special molecule. But the main thing about enzymes are that they don't run out. So, as you can see here, this is a food particle. This is the enzyme. The enzyme is going to attach to the food particle and it's going to start breaking down that food particle. So as the enzyme attaches, the enzyme speeds up the reaction of actually breaking down the particle into molecules. The enzyme is going to release and the broken down food particle will go to where it needs to go. But the cool thing about this is the enzyme doesn't change. It's not going to disintegrate or disappear. It's going to be able to reuse because nothing really happened other than speeding up the breakdown of the food molecule. The enzyme is still good to go. Okay, and I wanted to show y'all an example of a chemical reaction with an enzyme. Okay, so what I have here is yeast and water. I've just made a mixture of yeast like you would get for making bread. Yeast is really cool because it has the enzyme catalase in it. And catalase actually breaks down hydrogen peroxide. And if you've ever seen this bottle, because you've cut yourself or have something to clean, this is hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide's chemical formula is H2O2. So if you notice, H2O is in there and oxygen is in there. So what's going to happen is catalase will break down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. Oxygen is a gas, so the gas will actually come up out of the cup, but since we can't see that, I've added some soap. And what's going to happen is the soap bubbles are going to capture that oxygen and make bubbles so you can see that there actually is oxygen in the reaction. And then water is also going to be another product. So you can tell if catalase is doing its job with hydrogen peroxide if there's bubbles going on, or it's going to look more like foam in this case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have one with no hydrogen peroxide just to show you what it looks like when there's not an enzyme reaction going on. So I'm going to put a few tablespoons of my stuff there, and actually I need to practice lab safety. So I'm going to pull my hair back and put my goggles on. And because I'm using hydrogen peroxide and it reacts with yeast, I'm going to put some gloves on. Okay? So now we have our control, which has no hydrogen peroxide. As you can see, there's nothing going on here. It's just soap and what looks like a really weird milky mixture. Okay, and then also I'm going to add our yeast to our second cup. Now I'm going to add some food coloring just so if we do see a reaction, you can see it better. I'm going to add green just because I like green. Okay, now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide here. And all you have to do is watch at this point. And you can see it's starting to foam up. There are some bubbles going on in there, but it's rising, and it's actually a bunch of foam. Now, at the bottom, there's also some water. There's some water throughout, but because it's foaming, you can tell that oxygen gas is being released, and the soap is basically capturing it. So you can tell that the actual reaction happened, okay? So let's see what would happen. Let's try our control. Let's just see what happens if we add double the amount of hydrogen peroxide. Oh, looks like we're getting a bigger reaction. I just like to do that for fun. So that's just showing you a reaction with an enzyme. So yeast has the catalase enzyme and breaks down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen, and we know that it's broken down because we're actually getting foam, which are the oxygen gas captured in the soap bubbles. Okay? So moving back on to digestion, let's answer some questions. On Slido.com, our code is 5106 again. So all you have to do is look at your screen and you should have this question. Okay, what is a protein that helps break down larger molecules into smaller molecules while speeding up the rate of reaction? And it looks like so far we are correct with enzymes. Enzymes are the proteins that speed up reactions. Good. All right, another question. What happens to an enzyme after it breaks down a food molecule? So think about what the enzyme does. Does it disappear? Is it damaged? Or does it not change at all? Uh-oh, are we stumped on this one? Okay, so if we think back to the diagram that I showed you, the enzyme attaches to a food molecule, and then once the food molecule is broken down, the enzyme detaches and it's not changed. It's able to be reused again. So they do not change and can be reused, so that is the correct answer here. All right, let's talk about some organs of the digestive system. So we have a few like the salivary glands, your tongue, the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas. Those are parts of your digestive system. However, we're going to focus on your digestive tract today and what is actually involved in that and what those things do. So the mouth actually starts that digestive tract. As soon as food goes into your mouth, your mechanical digestion starts, but also your saliva starts chemical digestion, and what it does is it has an enzyme in your saliva that starts breaking down carbohydrates immediately. And so also you have the enzyme that helps break down acidic foods. So eating an acidic food, you have enzymes that will start breaking that down a little bit so that your body can ingest it without being harmed. The esophagus is the next part. So this is the muscular tube that connects from your mouth to your stomach. And I said muscular. We've talked about the muscular system and the smooth muscle that makes up internal organs. And it's made of smooth muscle because it can actually contract and move that food down to your stomach. And we call that peristalsis, which is the actual contraction that moves the food down to the stomach. Okay, the stomach is the next part. So we have food going into the mouth, going down the esophagus, and now food is in the stomach. And the stomach is unique because it can actually stretch. It has these folds in it which allow it to stretch. And that's important because when we eat or when we drink and we get full, hopefully we can stay full for a pretty long period of time, a few hours. That way we're not having to eat constantly. So because the stomach can actually stretch and then digest, it keeps us from having to eat food all day long. Okay. Also, we have certain enzymes in our stomach that help break down food too. But what we call this is gastric juice, and gastric juice actually can mix with the food that's in our stomach, and it makes a watery liquid called chyme. Okay, here's a picture of our stomach. You can see here, this is the esophagus where the food is going to enter the stomach. The stomach muscles through peristalsis will actually start mixing with the food and the gastric juices. So remember, peristalsis is when the contractions of these organs are happening. When the gastric juices and the food mix together, it makes that what we call chyme. Here's the folds of our stomach that allow the stomach to expand if needed in order to keep us full longer. And then our stomach is going to move that food into our small intestine. Our small intestine is actually really long. The reason it's called the small intestine is it's only 2.5 centimeters in diameter. So it's going to be longer than our large intestine, however, diameter-wise it's smaller. Okay? Chemical digestion of proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, fats, all of that take place in the first part of the small intestine called the duodenum. Okay, and then the remainder of those absorb nutrients from the food. So our small intestine's biggest thing is it's going to absorb the nutrients that we need. It also has blood vessels within the folds, and yes, our small intestine has folds as well. We call those villi or villus for singular. And the villus has blood vessels which can actually take the food, the molecules and the things that our body needs throughout the body, because our blood vessels are going to transport what it needs to different spots in the body. Okay? These are other organs of the digestive system that we're not going to touch on today, but here they are. Our pancreas, our liver are in the pictures below. Then we have our large intestine. So remember, our small intestine is going to absorb the nutrients from the food that we're intaking. But then our large intestine's job is to make sure that whatever's left that wasn't absorbed gets pushed down and make sure that it gets eliminated eventually. Okay, so I'm actually going to do a demonstration really quickly with some pantyhose, which is going to be your small intestine. And I'm going to use some crackers and water with blue food coloring to be the example of the food moving through your body. So because I'm making a mess here, I'm going to wear some gloves, my goggles, and pull my hair back. All right, so what I have, this bucket is basically like the absorption from your small intestine. So everything that you see go into this bucket is being absorbed by your small intestine. This is going to represent your small intestine. It's just some pantyhose. We have a cup full of water here that's going to represent your blood vessels or your bloodstream. So it's red because of that. And I'm going to put this food, our blue food, and it's blue for a reason, I'll tell you in a minute. I'm going to put it into the pantyhose. Now all this is crackers and water. So I'm squeezing it into the pantyhose. Whoops, some came out. Okay? And as you can see, there's some moisture coming out. And remember, if you squeeze that moisture coming out is representing your nutrients being absorbed by your large intestine. Now, also remember, your small intestine. Now, remember, your small intestine has blood vessels that are going to take those nutrients that it's absorbing and basically get it through the body in your blood vessels. So, if we look here I made the food coloring blue hoping that it would turn your bloodstream water a little different color, but you can see how the nutrients go throughout this bloodstream here. That bloodstream is taking those nutrients throughout the body. So that's just representing the blood vessels doing their job in your small intestine. Okay, and if you keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, eventually more nutrients are going to be absorbed. And then your large intestine is going to absorb what's left and hopefully eliminate it, which is going to be more of a solid waste. Okay? So that was a nice and messy demonstration of your small intestine absorbing and sending nutrients throughout the body, and then your large intestine taking what's left and eliminating it from your body. Okay? So moving on. In your digestive system, we have bacteria as well that helps with the breakdown. And if we didn't have this bacteria in our body, we wouldn't be able to actually digest food like we're supposed to. So we have a really nice relationship, a good symbiotic relationship, mutualism, from our bacteria and our digestive system. Now, remember, bacteria, we don't always have bad bacteria. So this would be an example of good bacteria that helps break down food. It also helps produce important vitamins and amino acids that our body needs. All right, let's do one question and then we'll wrap up really quickly. What organ is a muscular tube that connects the mouth to the stomach? Let's see if we can get some quick answers here. Connects the mouth to the stomach. Okay. Good, our esophagus. Awesome. All right, we're going to wrap up here since we're running out of time. Keep in mind that it's always important to know what keeps our bodies stable and what the systems do to do that. So digestive system is important because nutrients that are absorbed in your body can go to the places that it needs to go. Your blood in the circulatory system, remember your blood vessels take nutrients throughout the body as well. And those nutrients are produced from your digestive system. Okay, think about what you think of digestion beginning in the mouth. If you disagree or agree, remember we talked about as soon as you ingest food, your digestive system is starting to work. Okay, energy from the food stays in the digestive system. Think about what the point of this is. So our small intestine is absorbing all these nutrients and energy so it can be sent out to our body. So it doesn't necessarily stay in the digestive system. Circulatory system helps move those as well. All right, that is going to wrap up digestive system today, and we will move on next week with some more body systems. I hope y'all are staying well and safe, and remember your teachers miss and love you, and I will see you next week.